Hey guys, Scott here. Today we're going to talk about the war in the Dead by Daylight community. Actually, there's two wars
Right now.
war between the DBD players that like 1v4 and the DBD players that like 2v8. Actually, what it really is, the second major overarching war, is a war between casual players and just sort of everybody else. Because it's kind of funny, like, how many times have you heard in discussions about this game that people want a casual mode and a ranked mode? The funny part is we have that right now. That's currently what DBD is, because the 2v8 mode is the casual mode because it doesn't require builds or really perks or much knowledge of anything. It's a chaotic, silly, fun mode that, people really enjoy. And then the regular 1v4 DBD is a ranked mode. It has an MMR system. It's a shitty system, but it is a system. So we genuinely do have ranked DBD and non-ranked DBD. So we actually have that currently, so that we can't want that because it's already part of the game, and we'll go into making 2v8 an actual permanent thing. But the war itself, like I said, is between casual players and non-casual players. I don't want to just say casual players and comp players because that's not true. It's really people that have time for 1 or 2 games a day, and then there's players that maybe play like for an hour or 2 a day, which I'd say is like semi-casual. So it's really casual players and everybody else. And anytime 2v8's extended, they go to war with each other. Now, a lot of this is done by content creators, and I personally have contributed to this as well, but not like in a malicious way. Because whenever 2v8's extended, I personally am always like, fuck, because 2v8 is just not good for streaming for a bunch of reasons, mainly because the queue times are just abysmal. If I want to play killer in either mode, it doesn't matter. I have to wait 10 times longer than normal. That obviously is really bad when I have to be entertaining people. I'm spending most of my streams doing not Dead by Daylight at that point. So that's obviously pretty bad. But another reason is the 2v8 mode is just a lot more simple. It's a lot more casual. And why do people watch content creators? Most of the time because they want to see skilled plays. They want to watch a player that's better than them, to learn from them and be entertained by them doing skillful things. But in 2v8, you can't really do that very much. I would argue on the killer side, there's a bit of that, because 2v8 on killer is genuinely hard as shit unless you're using like the best possible combination of killers. But 2v8 on killer is very hard. So watching that can be entertaining. But the problem is it's a 25-minute wait for that to happen. So again, even though that mode actually exemplifies skill and it can be very difficult to do and fun to watch, you can't watch it because no one can play it because they have to wait half an hour to play one game. So it's almost a good thing, but even that doesn't work. So like I said, because there's not really too much of a way to show skill on the survivor side. Like if you get 2v1'd as a survivor in DBD, I don't care if you're the best player on the planet, you're going to die in 2 seconds. So what it does is make the skill gap, go from here to like kind of here. And that's why a lot of people really enjoy playing this mode, because let's be honest, most people that play Dead by Daylight are casual players. And I need to make it clear, I'm not using that in an insulting way. It's just true. Most people play this game for maybe an hour a day, if that even, not even every day, just 1 or 2 games like every couple of days. That is truly what most DBD players are actually like. As an aside, I do want to bring up what I'm going to be calling, I guess, Schrodinger's casual player, because every time I have these discussions, there's this, that's the only way I can describe it. There's a casual player that simultaneously, when I say, hey, tunneling's not as big of a deal as you think, equip DS, learn to loot better, you'll have a lot less problems with it. To that, they'll always respond, I don't have time to get better at this game. I don't have time to get DS. I don't have time to do any of this. But then simultaneously, they have plenty of time to not give a shit about queue time. So they're basically Schrodinger's casual player. They have all the time in the world to not care about 25-minute queues, but not enough time to actually get good at the game. So that's a just random little side rant. But the whole thing is, this war happens because of 2 differing views on the game. And let me make this clear, as a content creator, despite the fact 2v8 significantly harms me and my channel, 2v8 needs to be in the game, legitimately. I have asked for 2v8 since I started playing the game. I have asked even recently for 2v8 to be made permanent. Again, these are all things that are huge detriment to me, but I understand the majority of players genuinely enjoy 2v8. And like I said, on killer, I still really find it very fun too. If I didn't have to wait 25 minutes, that's all I would do. But it's overall a good thing for the game. And a lot of people twist it into, just because I am unhappy with it, that I think it's bad for the game. And then they just say, well, you just hate everyone's fun. Which is also a super self-centered statement, because that assumes you're the arbiter of what is fun for everybody and your mode is the correct mode. So if you're saying that in response to me not being happy with 2v8, you can check yourself a little bit. You're sniffing your own ass too much. You are being extremely self-centered. All I'm saying is I personally am upset with this, but I can acknowledge at the same time that it's good for the health of the game. And I think people need to understand that nuance is really the case for most streamers. We really get that although it's harmful for us, it's good overall for the game because that's what a lot of players really enjoy. So how can I really fault them for doing it? It's one of those things where it sucks for me, but I get it. I get it and support their decision to do that. Now, the whole question here is, how do we actually end this war? Because every time 2v8 comes out, it gets extended every single time to the point where they might as well just say it lasts 3 weeks and not 2 weeks, because I think it's not been extended one time. So we're going to have these arguments every single time this pops up. The question is, how do we solve this war? And I touched upon this briefly, like I think 3 2v8s ago. The solution is it sucks, but it's, I think, the only way it'll actually work, and it's to make 2v8 permanent, which is why I've suggested multiple times making this mode permanent, despite the fact it will fucking suck for everybody in my content creator sphere for several months. But the thing is, the only reason this shit is bad is because the killer mode, which people would really enjoy watching for content, you need to wait 25 minutes to play it. And we can't play the regular killer mode either without having to sit in 5-10 minute queues every time, which is bad for us. So the only way to fix the main issue is the queue times. And the only way to fix the queue times is to rob the mode of its novelty. That is why queue times are always so lopsided, because it's a novel mode. Like, people are drawn to it because it's a limited time thing. There's the whole FOMO. People want to play it while it's active. But if we keep it permanently, that allure, that new shine to it will go away eventually. I don't care how fun something is, doing the same thing over and over again, even if it's the most fun thing in the world, it will eventually stop being fun, or it'll stop being as fun. Eventually, even the most casual player is going to go, man, I really miss playing X killer that I can't play in this mode. I miss going against this killer. I miss running this build with perks I can't use in this mode. These thoughts are going to eventually happen. That's the thing. I don't know the time frame. It could be a month. It could be 6 months. God help me if it's that long. But eventually, people will realize I kind of miss the other mode a bit too. And if it's always the option to be played, you can always play 2v8. There's no FOMO with it anymore, so you have no fear of playing 1v4 and missing out on something like that. Additionally, that means the survivor queue time, the survivor queue bonuses and stuff, that will go away, which will remove a lot of incentive to play that mode as well. So eventually, over time, the queue times will kind of go like this. I still think killer queues in 2v8 will be very long, but killer queues in 1v4 and everything else will be fine. That is really, in my opinion, the only way to actually solve this issue. It's like burning a wound to stop the infection before it spreads and kills everything. It's gonna fucking suck for an amount of time, but I do think that's really the only way we can actually fix this, because then we'll have a mode for casual players that can play whenever they want, and we'll have a mode for everybody else that can play whenever they want, and neither mode is negatively affecting each other. Therefore, there will be no reason for people to argue whenever a mode is like extended or renewed, because it's just a part of the base game that is not ruining the queue times anymore. I legit think that's the only way to do it, because we've seen, even if they give survivors so many new tools, new classes, and as killer, we don't really get anything. We go, okay, you can play Chucky now. Cool. Chucky is not even good in this mode. So we keep giving survivors a lot of stuff, but the queue times don't even slightly budge. So it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter how much shit we give survivors. It's still not enough. I think the only solution is making it a permanent mode and just biting the bullet and not making healing sounds and just making it so that is the only solution there. So I'm curious to hear if you guys agree with that theory. It's definitely a theory. It could backfire and actually the game just becomes unstreamable for everybody forever. But I do think that's a risk that needs to be taken, because I think they have discussed making it permanent at some point. And I do think we need to just, like I said, bite the bullet, because that's the only way to end the war between casual players and everybody else, because the only way to do that is so there's no negative repercussions for either mode still being in the game. Once that's true, everyone's happy. You can do whatever you want. So that's it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.